In the past, we have dealt with many stages of voters tampering. It's been noted that ballots have been found. It's been noted that names have been changed. And now it will be noted that entities that we trust as to be fair and honest, a legal government system that runs on rules and regulations, is not as fair, is not as honest as it say it is. This will be your Chicago Board of Elections. In Frederick Collins' Rule 20 hearing, everything that the Chicago Board of Elections stood for was ignored. Every rule that was documented and set up for individuals who's running for elections, guidelines was denied and ignored. As of late, rules have been changed that the challenger, as of February, will not have to be present. In all court systems, anybody that's been charged with a criminal charge, the attorneys are obligated to prove that they were in fact guilty and committed the crime. So ask yourself the question, why? All of a sudden, the Board of Elections decide to change this rule that the challengers do not have to show themselves, or it seems to me a cover-up for not allowing evidence to be presented. We live in a country where constitutional rights is on the books, that we supposed to abide by the constitutional rights, the laws, the regulations, and the amendments of the land. Do we trust our institutions to be fair? The answer is no. We cannot. It is clearly seen from elections to election, whether it's the president, whether it's the governor, whether it's the mayor, that entities that are supposed to not stick their hands in election do stick their hands in elections. For the next 16 days, evidence will be presented to show you how the Board of Election, Rodney Stewart, the hearing officer, Andre Holland, and his attorney Fine play a part in railroading and sabotaging Frederick Collins. You say, why is this being put forward? Because enough is enough. We as registered voters, we kind of believed in the system to be fair. But now I know the system as I know it not to be fair. We have seen your January 6th, your resurrection against the Capitol. We've seen how that played out, how senators and congressmen had their hands, how even the president had his hands in it. And we call this the United States, the land of opportunity, the land of the home and the free. And we cite the anthems at baseball, football, soccer games, basketball games. But is it honoring what it truly stands for? Is it? Have we become so low down and dirty that we forgot the oath of office that we have taken? Have we become so low down and dirty that we would do anything and everything under the sun to deny somebody's right to run fairly? You have to ask, whose hands are in this? What seat do they hold? And what is the purpose? And then you have to round up and say, why? And if they would stoop this low to stick their hands in an election to sabotage somebody who's just like them, just looking for change in a city to be better in which they reside in. Well, you may say this is an assumption. You may say it's a guess. But only people who's running for office have a fear of somebody else running from office. And the names that come up are Tony Preckwinkle and Brandon Johnson. And I've explained this in other videos. Brandon Johnson is a commissioner. He has retained another seat as commissioner. But as the mayor, Tony Preckwinkle has a little more power and a little more pull. But my question to you is, you're not doing anything with your power and your pull presently. So why would you push somebody else to hold the seat that you're not making a difference in the seat that you have? It's time for us to wake up. It's time for us to open our eyes. It's time for us to understand the system as we know or we call it to be fair is not fair. When a Chicago Board of Election can skip, can dodge, can bypass evidence, when they can ignore their Rule 6, their Rule 8, their Rule 10, and their Rule 20 that they set up to be fair for everybody, it's time to dismantle the Chicago Board of Election. It no longer has the respect. It no longer has the trustworthy factor, and it is no longer a viable institution when they allow and they are a part of railroading and sabotaging an innocent registered voter who has a constitutional right to run for office and is denied the due process. Now, the question becomes, who else's hands was in the part of this? Who else? They will come forth and deny. They will come forth and manipulate the evidence. They will come forth maybe and try to say what's being said is wrong. But you can't lie with paper. You cannot. Channel 5 was present at the Rule 20 hearing when the individual stepped off the stage before the ruling was even finished or announced and whispered in their ear and told them, Frederick Collins will not be on the ballot. Laska presented an email that said he was in a confused state. And let's wait till Rodney Stewart present his final recommendation. In the Board of Election rulings, you cannot go off of the preliminary recommendation. It is unfair to take on such a recommendation. In the record hearing, it was only supposed to be for signatures only. So they used it, which was set up and looked at the addresses, which we all know addresses are not an accurate way to look at anything. The person who represented the Board of Elections should have overruled everything, but the setup was already in place to sustain enough addresses so it would be up under the 12,500. Frederick Collins had presented 13,800. Every other candidate presented 3 times as much. And to date, if you will go out on the street and try to get signatures, you will find yourself that it's not that easy. And there are those who got signatures. There are those who paid people to stand out there and get signatures who was duped out of their money. See, no longer is this process called fair. Now it's play to pay. And it's play to pay to the person who has the most money and who are able to retain people who are desperate enough to go along with their plot, their plan, and their purpose to sabotage, to railroad those who are running for office. Andre Holland has a record. Andre Holland house is in foreclosure. Attorney Fine did not speak during these trials. Rodney Stewart, the hearing officer who was supposed to be neutral, switched roles and became the objector. The first day the hearing started, Mr. Fine and Rodney Stewart had a sidebar, witnessed it with my own eyes, which is called a conflict of interest. So for me, it is discrimination. For me, it is a setup intentionally. For me, it is open railroading, and sabotaging of an individual who they feared running, who they feared would be the second person next to Mayor Lightfoot as a runoff. So you take out the strongest person and you leave all the weakest links at the table. So you have no competition. See, Frederick Collins was a 29-year veteran of the Chicago Police Department. He lived in the community, deep in the community. He didn't have no political ties to anybody, so he didn't owe anybody anything. Now you have those who's left on the ballot running, all have political ties. Paul Valens was once in the CPS system, and he failed that. So why would you think he would be a good candidate to be the mayor? Yesterday I saw on Twitter that now all of a sudden he has a public safety plan. Check out Collins' plan. His website is still up, and see if his Paul Valens public safety plan match Frederick Collins' plan. What will Cam Buckner do? What will Brandon Johnson? What will Sophia King do? What will Sawyer do? What will Jamal Green do? They don't have a plan. You know why? Because truly, they don't care about the citizens of Chicago. So if you're planning to move to a better state or better place, a better opportunity, my suggestion is you think long and hard about doing just that. Because what you have left, your Willie Wilsons, what you have left, not one of these candidates care about the needs of the people. Tony Prepwinkle, as a Cook County Board president, didn't care about the needs of the people. It was her who increased your property tax. It was her who introduced all the soda tax, the bad tax, and everything else. Yet and still, they sit in office and say they care. Yet and still, they position themselves to come before you and tell you why they want to sit in the seat, and they haven't held up one promise. Red light cameras are still in existence, and they can catch you. They can catch all four corners with the red light camera, but they can't catch a drive-by shooting. They can't catch somebody being robbed in open daylight. Residents with Ring cameras have to be the cameras that they use to catch what's happening. But you can catch registered voters, constituents on red light camera on all four corners. You have cameras everywhere, but they don't work where they should work. It worked when the riots was happening downtown, but it don't work in the black and brown neighborhoods. Black and brown neighborhoods don't get the funding that they need, but yet and still, we constantly put the same asses in the seat over and over again. Cam Buckner is a state representative. What has he done to make a difference in your community, in your area? Brandon Johnson is the commissioner. What difference have you seen in Austin? It's still abandoned buildings. It's still potholes that's cratered. It's still closed schools. The schools are not competitive to other states. School numbers for students' attendance are down. Wake up, people. Wake the hell up. Your Willie Wilson has given out money. What has he done to make a difference besides pay people off with gas and chump change for groceries? What has he done? What has Sawyer done as an alderman in his community to make a true difference in your community? Stand on your front porch and look around, and you tell me what the evidence of change you see. Jamal Green, you've been an activist, yeah, but you have a record that's a mile long. So what have you done to subside the crime? What is your plan as a young man to stop the young people from killing each other and killing others, innocent people? See, we have a Cook County jail that's full of individuals, 90%, but 50% of those individuals in there are innocent, and they're locked up. Our state's attorney, Kim Fox, is not doing what she needs to do. She don't have enough state's attorney to get cases closed. But yet and still, we have a mayor. We have people that want to hold the seat of a mayor. Downtown is no longer the place you want to be because it is unsafe. When you're not safe in daytime, when People don't feel safe going to work, when seniors don't feel safe leaving their homes, and you have the Chicago Board of Elections who are railroading, not just to Frederick Collins. There are others who have been railroaded and sabotaged. We can no longer trust the institution that we call fair. We can no longer trust those who sit in the seat of authority to do what is right, because you yourselves have violated your oath of office. You have violated your trust to the people. You have disconnected your respect. You no longer get any respect. The attorney Lasker is just as guilty, and you know better. You know better. And those individuals, individually, who represent the Rule 20 hearing, you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm going to say this to you. You reap what you sow, for those of you who believe in God. God knows your motive. He knows your reason. He knows the behind conversation that we probably would never be privy to. He knows how much you all were paid to sabotage and railroad Frederick Collins. He knows this. He knows your addresses. He knows when and where and how to get you. So when your life starts to fall apart, when things start to crumble and you can't understand, just look at your record, your list of paper of individuals for decades that the Board of Election and the hearing officers have sabotaged intentionally. To our media, who is tasked with bringing the stories forth, who is tasked with telling the truth, who is tasked with telling both sides of the story, you have ownership as well. To our registered voters, enough is enough. And for me as a registered voter, I don't trust none of y'all anymore. I trust none of you. I pushed for people to vote. I did. Because I believed in the system to be fair. But now that I sat on the other side of the seat, and I saw how you took away my constitutional right, the freedom of choice, I no longer trust you. I say this, the Board of Elections need to be dismantled totally. We need to have outside individual who is neutral, that have no ties, and people who cannot be paid off. Matter of fact, the Board of Elections should be people from other states that have that are sitting on the Board of Elections in other states, so we can cross these seats. Then maybe, just maybe, we will get a fair opportunity, and those who run for office will be treated fairly. As for now, the sabotage, the railroading of Frederick Collins is real. So I'm saying, since they denied him his fair constitutional right, since they denied his due process, since they ignored every rule and regulation of the Board of Election, I say to everyone, write the name Frederick Collins in on the ballot on the election day on February the 28th, 2023. Write his name in, Frederick Collins.